Big poppin', money in the bank coming, dropping a deposit. Having it my way, so I got these bitches watching. Steady getting to it, couldn't fit it in my pocket. Flexing everything, baby, tell me big poppin'. Money in the bank coming, dropping a deposit. Having it my way, so I got these bitches watching. Steady getting to it, couldn't fit it in my pocket. Flexing everything, baby, tell me what to tap it.
What's poppin', everybody? It's your favorite doctor, that girl Henny, and I am about to pour up plenty of hot shots on this breaking news from the Diddy court docs. Now, if you have been keeping up with all things that are Diddy, then you know that I have been keeping up with those things too. I was there at the trial in person, in real time, sitting in the overflow, listening to the developments of the case as they came out. Hold on one second, you guys. I think I forgot something. I did. Okay, now I should sound better now. Anyway, so if you remember the other day, I brought to you guys, Diddy filed a motion. His team filed a motion on his behalf asking for a new bail hearing. And we went down the road of the history of bail being denied for him. Well, here we are. I believe this is a little over. I want to be sure I want to talk correctly because, they be coming for your girl. They be coming for your girl. Your girl don't care. But anyway, just 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, Diddy's team filed for a bail. Okay, and I brought you guys that documentation. If you don't remember that documentation, I am going to put it up on the screen for you right now. And like I said, I went through the history of the bail hearing and how the judge was not having it. Okay, so in this, the response from the judge, the judge gave the government until today to respond. Now, I will say this before we move on to the next portion of programming. As of today, as of right now, 9 a.m. on the East Coast, today, July 31st, which is Apple Juice's birthday, there has been no response from the government. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because it is very unusual for the government to not respond to any of the filings that the defense puts in, because if you remember anything about the trial, then you know that the government was quick on the draw whenever the defense decided that they were going to put in a motion. The government would jump in and be like, here's our rebuttal. Well, as you can see from this letter that I put up on the screen just now, that's it. We didn't get a response. And so, I've been keeping an eye on Inner City Press and other places. Henny Legal's been keeping an eye on the documentation. And last night we were honestly looking for a response from the government. But instead of getting a response from the government, what we were met with was this. Now, what is this that you are asking me? This is from Alexandra Shapiro. And if you know anything about Diddy's team, acquittals, this is her thing, okay? So I knew it was just a matter of time, or they were going to try to ask for a mistrial. And I believe that that's what they may be leading up to. Just my opinion. I don't know. I'm just making, a hypothesis as to what could be coming down the pipeline with all of this. But in this notification that they sent, or letter, I should say, to the judge, they're stating that they are asking the court to grant Diddy either a judgment of acquittal on counts 3 and 5. And they're saying that they're asking this on pursuant of Rule 29. Now, if you don't remember what Rule 29 is, that's an acquittal motion. And the crazy thing about this is normally you have 14 days from a jury's decision to file for an acquittal. But if you remember, they asked for an acquittal while the trial was still going on. And the judge never ruled on said acquittal. He did hold. That was something that the judge said that he was going to do, that he was going to hold on his decision on the Rule 29. And so he didn't make a decision at that time. And remember, I was telling you guys that if he did hold on it, that it would come after the jury's decision. Now, the jury's verdict came down. They did acquit Diddy of the RICO and 2 counts of the sex trafficking, but they did find him guilty of 2 counts of the Mann Act, right? So instead of the judge giving the ruling on the Rule 29, they went immediately into bail. And I think somewhere along all of that kerfuffle of changing trajectory of what was going on. I think the Rule 29 kind of went underneath the carpet, okay? But normally they have 14 days, and the trial was over on July, what was that, July 3rd? July 2nd. It was over on July 2nd because there was no court on the 3rd, and 4th was the holiday, and then you've got the weekend. So if you're counting the business days, an acquittal would be normally, it would be out the window right now, only because the 14 days has passed. But now, because they have already put this motion in and there was no ruling on it, they still can ask for this acquittal, I'm assuming. Okay, I am not a lawyer. Okay, I am just your everyday average round the way girl that's just kind of a geeky nerd that reads stuff. And I usually be on point with some of the things that I say, and sometimes I'm not. And guess what? I'm human. Anyway, but they're asking for this acquittal, which I feel like they're pushing Judge Submaranian to give his ruling because he never did. Okay. They also go on to say that if they cannot do the acquittal, hold on, you guys, because your girl, y'all know me and these devices now. There we go. They're also saying that if they can't do that, then underneath Rule 33, they're asking for a new trial on counts 3 and 5 only, right? So a Rule 33, this is where I'm looking like, ooh. Rule 33 is put into play when usually there is insufficient evidence or there wasn't, like the case was weak. Basically, all the things that people have been saying, that the case was weak. And so they're asking for a new trial on those counts. And they're basically saying, if you can't give us this acquittal, we want a new trial on these 2 charges. Now, I'm going to tell you what I find very interesting in all of this is that they have given you, I can't say the inclination, but throughout the whole trial, they have given you that they're not gonna give up. They're fighting. Okay. They're gonna fight this. Now it's either the way it's looking right now. If I was Judge Submaranian, I would be sitting there looking at these motions in this computer like, okay, so y'all are backing me into a corner. Because basically what they're saying is either A, you give them a bail, B, you give us a Rule 29, or C, you give us acquittal. They've given the judge 3 options to choose right here. And again, the government has been quiet the whole time. Now, when it comes down to all of these developments that have happened, I found it very... Thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate you. I'll make sure that Appy App gets it. I find it very interesting that all this time there's been a few things here or there that have come out. However, did I just do that? Because I was watching a lot of stuff. Okay. I find it interesting that last night or yesterday, 16 hours ago, Marc Agnifilo was on Court TV. Now, he's going to explain to you guys what they're looking at, because remember, I've been telling you they're not going to find any type of case that lines up with Diddy's case. The thing that he's going at the most is, listen, he's a John. Okay. And in the history of the Mann Act, no John has ever been convicted of the Mann Act. Okay. So this is where they're going with it. They're still sticking to, hey, Jane, she started that fight. She provoked it. She slammed his head into the counter. He was defending himself. Okay. If you want to go there, I'm not even going to dive deep into that, because at the end of the day, self-defense, self-defense is self-defense. But when you chase somebody down and you beat somebody and you choke slam them and then you wait, they flee from you and come back to the home and you continue it. That's not self-defense at that point in time. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're here for. Let's listen to what Marc Agnifilo had to say while he was on Court TV, and then we'll get back into some of the court doc.
How the way the Mann Act is being applied is kind of like one of a kind. Would you walk us through what you mean by that, please?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years. But really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by sex workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason, and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
So there you have it. He's saying that this is an exceptional reason, which, by the way, it really is, because, again, we keep talking about how there hasn't been any case like this before. But in the way that this was set up, he's like the organizer of it. Yes, he paid for it, but you listen to different stories and accounts of things that happened, and you hear Cassie was given the money. You hear Diddy was giving the money. So you look at the evidence that was given in court, and I really wish that the charts would come out so that you could see the charts that were presented, where you see that he's providing a place, he's providing a space, he's providing all of those things by paying for it. So that's where the government is coming from. But you hear what he's saying, and it's like, in this case, what I can say to you, and I'm going to be completely honest with what I'm about to say here. You cannot deny anybody that sits up here and tries to slam the prosecution for the job that they did, or slam the defense for the job that they did. Their bias is very clear, okay? Because at the end of the day, both of these legal teams put on a great case. Both of them made very valid points on both ends of where they're coming from on this case, okay? I choose to err on the side of showing you what it is that they're going after as far as the prosecution goes, what it is that they're trying to show in the case and all of that stuff. That's the angle that I chose to go from. But what I will say is I see both sides of this case, if I'm going to be completely, brutally honest with y'all. And I understand where both sides are coming from, because, yes, this is something that is unprecedented. This is something that has not been ever done before. So, but when you look at how it came into play, I think that's the part that everyone is looking at, and they're saying, okay, the only reason why this even came up the way that it came up is because it was attached to a RICO. I'm sorry, I'm looking in my inbox at the same time as I'm talking to y'all, because it was attached to a RICO. All right. And so because the RICO is gone and the trafficking is gone, y'all need to let him go. Hold on one second, you guys. Let me just do this really quickly. Okay. Let me send. All right. I had to reach out to Henny Legal real quick. So let me see. Okay, so that's where they are with this. All right. Now, let me go ahead and let him finish up what he's saying.
Mark, I read in your motion, you say that Mr. Combs may very well be the only John sitting in a jail right now for his crimes. What makes you say that?
So we've done a nationwide survey of Mann Act cases, and we're not all the way finished, but we've looked at probably close to 100 cases. And we don't see any other case where a John, the user of prostitution services, is being prosecuted under the Mann Act. There are instances where the user of prostitution services has some kind of connection with the arranger, the organizer, the people who make the money from the prostitution services. But in terms of just being a straight user of services provided by a sex worker, we think he might be the only person in the country.
Now, he says having an arrangement with the service, okay? Now, granted, Cowboys for Angels is not a service for prostitution. They provide escorts, which escorts do not involve, they don't involve sex traditionally. Okay, on paper, that's what that is. So with that being said, there was a relationship there. There was also a relationship that was had with each of the escorts or the male entertainers, or as Clayton Howard likes to call himself, a provider. There was a relationship there with them. So again, I can rebut this myself, but this is what he's saying. He's saying, look, he doesn't have a financial gain. He's not gaining any financial gains out of this at all. He's not the one who was hiring, he wasn't the employer, so to speak, of these people. However, it could easily be rebutted that yes, he was, because he paid, yada, 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 yada. Okay. So again, I'm playing this for you guys to hear where they are coming from.
I certainly see what you're saying and can appreciate the legal argument you put forth in your motion for bail for Mr. Combs, Mark. And even if the judge agrees, let's say the judge agrees that this is an exceptional application of the Mann Act, and your client may be the only one who's jailed right now. You've cited every other case you can find. It's an ROR type bond situation. What about the other component that we know the judge is very concerned about, and that is your client's propensity for violence?
Now, remember, I was bringing that up to you guys when we were reviewing the bail package the first time, and I was telling you the judge really harped on the propensity of violence, how the violence is personal violence, how it happens behind closed doors, and that, that's something that can't really be monitored. This was the judge's concern. So she's asking this very same question to the point that I was bringing up, that, hey, the judge already before the trial denied it. And then once the verdict came in, he was holding him because of the violence that was attested to. Like they agreed that there was a history of violence there.
Even you yourself acknowledged that in the closing arguments of the case, with what happened to Cassie on the video that the world saw, and in the instances with Jane. How can you reconcile your position now in this motion for bail, that he should be free and is not a danger to the public, when we know these instances happened in the past?
So I think the key thing with what you said is that it happened in the past. I mean, the only instance that we have in recent memory was one, and the trial evidence showed this, where Jane essentially, started a fight with Mr. Combs, smashed his head against the counter, threw glasses at him. Jealousy was always a feature of their relationship, and Jane was jealous of his relationship with another woman. And so that was about 14 months ago that happened. But other than that, everything dates back, a number of years, 2018 and before. And as we made, the point we made in the bail application as well is, Mr. Combs is.
Let me say this to y'all. I'm going to tell y'all this. Now, I am going to interject here, and I am going to bring something into play. Now, he's able to say that there wasn't any other instance from 2018 to 2024. And the reason why he's able to say that is because Gina did not come into play in the case. Because had Gina come into play, let me just sidestep for a second, and let me just explain to y'all how important Gina was to this case. Okay. Gina is the cog that went in between Cassie's time frame and Jane's time frame, right? She's that middle piece that went in there and bridged everything together. Not only that, Gina was there during Cassie's relationship with Diddy and during Jane's relationship with Diddy. So she would have bridged the gap, and they wouldn't have even been able to say, well, there was no history of violence because bop, 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 bop. But with Gina pulling out, that really hurt the defense's case, because now there's this gap. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know those of us who have been keeping up with the things that have been going on with Diddy, I know that we know about Gina. We know she went on Tasha K. We know she talked about, him stomping her, in her stomach and her not being able to breathe. We know all of that stuff happened, right? Because, well, that's what she's alleging happened, right? When she was on Tasha K. But the thing is, and this is why when I was covering the case, I said, I don't want to talk about Biggie. I don't want to talk about Tupac. I don't want to talk about tunnels, white parties, or any of that stuff while I was giving you the coverage of the case, because there's a lot of stuff that's out there that we've heard over the years that was not a part of this case. So, Henny, are you saying that those stories are not true? What I'm saying is they were not a part of this case, but they're still out there. There's been no answer for any of those things. It's not like he went on trial for any of that stuff. So, and I totally agree, Beyonce's wig. They should have pursued her and made her testify. We don't know why they didn't pursue her. We don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I can get into some of the rumors that people have said, but I really don't want to get into that. But what I wanted to bring up was that point, because I already know there's going to be people that are going to say, well, how can he say that there was no violence between 2018 and 2024 when we have Gina? Gina never testified. So with Gina not testifying, that means that her story does not count. It's not relevant to this case. They cannot say, you cannot go in there and say, well, look, Gina was there and he did this to Gina. And this is what Gina is alleging when she came in, because she never took the stand. You understand? So with her not taking the stand, that portion of the story is irrelevant. So he's able to make this argument. And yes, I'm not going to lie to y'all. When you go into a situation like this and the way that it's being told, even though Diddy knows what he was doing behind closed doors with Gina, they know what was going on with Gina because they read all of the stuff that was going on when the government interviewed her. So they're well aware of that. But the reason that it can be sidestepped is because there was no testimony from her at all. So now he can come and say, well, look, between 2018 and 2024, there was no history of violence. There was no violence there. He didn't reach out to Cassie. He wasn't violent with Cassie. He didn't drive to her house and beat her up or none of that. And this thing with Jane slammed his head into the counter and she provoked him. And she brought this on herself is basically what he's saying with that, right? So, and they in court, they said it was self-defense, but self-defense is not a brutal beating. But either way, that's neither here nor there. The point of the matter is there is a gap between Cassie and Jane. I said Gina, Cassie and Jane. And even though we had testimony from George Kaplan that says, oh, he was throwing apples at Gina and he was violent with Gina. And although we heard that there was violence with Gina or witnesses that said, even though we heard that in court, she did not take the stand. So with her not taking the stand, that could be looked at as hearsay in court because there's no evidence. She didn't come, so they couldn't put her pictures up. They couldn't put up any evidence that would back up her story. So again, this is where that gap is coming in at. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I've said it before, and I know a lot of you get mad when I say this, but it's the truth. The prosecution dropped the ball a lot in this case because if they really were I keep saying they didn't really want to prosecute him. And I'll tell you why I keep saying that at the end of all of this. But I just feel like they didn't want to, because if they really wanted to prosecute him and nail him to the cross the way that it looked like they were trying to do, there were things that they would have done. And one of them would have been, they would have forced Gina to come into court. That's it. That's all. They would have forced her to come into court. You can subpoena somebody. You can make someone come into court. They made everybody else come in. They gave my bad, y'all. I hit the wrong button. They made everybody else come in and gave them immunity and all of that. So again, if they wanted Gina to come in, I feel like there were things that the prosecution could have done to make sure that happened. But again, they didn't. But let's continue.
Was seeking counseling for domestic violence before he was arrested. He was attending a program here in New York. And we really wish that he could have stayed in that program, but the federal government arrested him and then he was in jail and he couldn't continue with this very outstanding program, which I believe he'll come back to if he's released. And that's really, I started my career in the Manhattan DA's office And I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved. I mean, it's difficult, obviously, for the victim who has to live in fear from one of the people in her lives that she's the closest to or he's the closest to. But what I saw in the DA's office is that these were not resulting in lengthy prison sentences. These were resulting in appropriate, treatment programs, self-awareness, therapy, things like that. And I think this is what Mr. Combs needs.
Now, you cannot sit here and say that I have not been saying that for all y'all that been trying to come for my neck. Okay, I've been saying he needed treatment, he needed therapy, but there is something that Marc Agnifilo just admitted to in what he just said, that when you're in those types of a situation, it creates a fear. And the fact that they admitted to, which they couldn't deny. Okay, let's be real and call a thing right now. Let's be real and let's have an adult conversation. Nobody's trolling in here. I'm respecting everybody's comments that are coming in because everybody is being respectful. So I really appreciate the tone and the vibe of the live this morning. People are listening. Y'all are engaging. I appreciate y'all. But them admitting to the violence, they really couldn't find a way around that because of that Intercontinental video, right? Not only that, there was no way to attest, to disagree or try to debunk the bruises that we saw, on Cassie, that the picture from Jane of him kicking in the doors and all of it. You could not get away from that. Not only that, the assistants came in and they testified to seeing violent acts or things being done in their presence that constitutes that he has a violent tendency. So him saying that is kind of like a double-edged sword, just like it was with them admitting to it. That's how I see it. But what he just said is actually what the judge is talking about, and that's why they're saying that it makes it hard for him to, hey, Uda, it makes it hard to say that he's not a threat to the community. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't feel like he should get 20 years. I don't feel like he should get 10 years. I don't. If we were talking about RICO and the sex trafficking and all that other stuff, then we would be talking about something else, but I still didn't feel like, and if y'all go back and remember, I said I didn't feel like it warranted life. He didn't take a life. He altered a life or 2 or 5 or whatever, but he didn't take a life. But let's continue with what Marc Agnifilo is saying.
Rather than an extended time in prison.
Mark, my understanding is that Jane wrote him a letter to get into the Batterers program before he was arrested for the instant case. Is that correct?
So they were in the process of writing a letter. So what happened with Mr. Combs, and this is because of his notoriety, and I think this is really unfortunate, is that I tried very hard to get him into a Batterers program in April, April and May, before he got arrested. And I think because of his notoriety, a lot of these programs didn't want to take him. And so I think what was happening around the time of the incident that was testified to at the trial is that Jane was in fact helping him write a letter to get into one of these programs. And at the end of the day, he didn't get into the program that I think the letter was directed to, but we got him to another program, and he did start, therapy and counseling in that program, and did that for several weeks before he was arrested. So that's what your question is. The answer is yes, that is true.
Okay, so now this was one of those moments in the trial when everybody was like, oh, because Jane was helping him to get into a Batterers program. And that's something that did not come out during cross-examination. It did not come out during direct examination. This came out during the closing arguments, if I'm not mistaken. I know that the trial was already done. Everybody had already testified. So this is when this came out, that she was helping him to get into a Batterers program. So again, for me, this is two sides, and you either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Either way, it's my commentary. Now, with her sitting and writing a letter to help him to get into a batterers program, that means that there is an admission that there is something there that needs therapy, right? Right. I do agree that probably with the fact that Diddy he's a huge icon. Okay. He's very well known. He's a high profile celebrity, and that would require a lot more from those facilities than they probably were equipped to do. Meaning there would be press that would be coming there. They would need to tighten up with security, and they probably didn't have the budget for that. But, again, this is something that they're saying that he was trying. Now, I know what a lot of y'all are saying. Well, Henny, he was probably doing that because he knew that he was getting ready to have to turn himself in, or he was about to get arrested. So, of course, he's going to do that. Well, again, I'm going to say to you the same thing that I said when it was talked about him getting into programs while he was behind in the MDC in Click Click City, that this is something that people do. He's not doing anything that's outside of the normal. I've said this to y'all before. This is something that people do. You go, you take the programs, you get some time knocked off, maybe you're able to go home. So what he's doing, what the defense is doing, is not anything that's outside of the normal scope of what an average Joe or Jane would do. I said Jane. Anyway, let's continue.
And thank you for that, Mark. Is he availing himself of any programs now in the jail?
So the MDC doesn't have the programming that some other jails do, because it's not a final holding facility. It's really for people who are in a pretrial posture. So it's by its nature somewhat transient.
Right.
So other prisons where people go to serve their sentences have much better programming, and so the programming at the MDC is not really that well established. That being said, we've cobbled together therapists and people who go in and speak with Mr. Combs, and he is availing himself of that.
Okay. So what he's saying, they have their own people basically from the outside that are doing this, that the MDC is not equipped for that. Now, let me tell you, MDC is not a place that people normally would go to do long stints. And let me just tell y'all this about MDC. MDC is horrible. Okay, it is horrible. From my understanding, all of the BOPs are horrible. Okay, they're horrible. The conditions are horrible. I mean, look at what happened with MCC. Epstein ended up behind closed up, which y'all, we gonna get into that. We're getting into that. Don't think I forgot about Bar and Crime. Make sure y'all are following my other page, Bar and Crime, because I'm about to start popping over there with quick little blurts and videos of different things that are going on with the Epstein case. I know there's been a lot of movement in that case, but I'm going to start breaking little pieces down bit by bit of all the stuff that we have missed. So I just wanted to put that out there. But MDC is definitely not a place that people want to be at all. Okay. But they do have something that they're doing on the outside to help him to get the therapy and things of that nature. I do believe that they started talking to him again. Let me see. They did. They started talking to him again. So let's skip to that part and hear what they have to say.
Lead defense attorney Marc Agnifilo.
I keep hitting the wrong button. Don't y'all judge me, okay? I don't have my mouse. My mouse broke. It broke. But anyway, now they're going to get into talking about sentencing.
Please, have your expectations with the federal government changed at all with Maureen Comey being let go from her position?
No, I thought Maureen Comey was an outstanding lawyer and is an outstanding lawyer, and I think will go on to have a terrific career regardless of where she is. I think it's a loss to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and it's unfortunate, in my view, what happened to her personally. I got to know her and all the members of the government trial team pretty well during the trial, and I have a great deal of respect for all of them, including Ms. Comey. But no, that's an outstanding office. The Southern District of New York has a deep bench, as they say. They're very good lawyers in the office and on this trial team. So I don't think the presentation of evidence or arguments will suffer, even though Maureen left.
Mark, it seems like your team and the government are just miles apart on what kind of a sentence would be appropriate for Mr. Combs. What is your greatest hope, your most ideal hope for sentence for him?
So my hope obviously is that he gets out as soon as possible. We filed a bail application this morning, and my hope obviously is that the judge sees the wisdom in that and agrees with us. The government will oppose it, and the government will oppose it for reasons that they believe are sound. Now, in terms of sentencing, we believe that a sentence along the lines of time served is more than sufficient. If you look at what Johns are sentenced to, even if they're prosecuted in the first case in this country, no one's doing close to the time that Mr. Combs has done in jail. So I think we have to treat like cases alike, and I think he should be released in short order.
So that is something that they were already pushing for, was for him to get time served when it came down to his sentencing. Now, again, Maureen Comey, when she was on the case, she was saying that he's facing up to 20 years because it was 10 years per Mann Act count. I really don't know if he's going to get that 10 years for each count, 20 years, run concurrent to make it 10. I don't know if he's going to get that. I mean, honestly, if anything, I could see anywhere from 2 to 5 years being what he's going to get. After doing some more research and looking at some of the cases that have been attached to this, I'm trying to pull up for you what the judge ordered them for when it came down to this. All right. So let's get into what the judge's orders were to the jury when it came down to transportation to engage in prostitution and inducement. Okay. It says this next category of criminal violations is transportation to engage in prostitution. And of course, it's in violation of Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Section 2421 and 2422A. With respect to Title 18, the judge defined the elements of the offense and he explained the counts of 3 and 5. Okay. And he said you should apply those same definitions here. So it says with respects to that, first, that a conspirer knowingly persuaded or induced or enticed or coerced a person to travel in interstate foreign commerce. Second, that said person traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. Third, that conspirer acted with the intent that said person would engage in prostitution. As to the first element, the government must prove that the conspirer knowingly persuaded or induced or enticed or coerced an individual to travel in interstate or foreign commerce, an act done knowingly when it is done purposefully and intentionally, as opposed to mistakenly or inadvertently. Okay. As to the second element, interstate or foreign commerce simply means the movement of goods, service, money, and individuals between 2 or more states, or between one state and the District of Columbia, or between the state and a U.S. territory or possession, or between the United States and a foreign country. The terms persuaded, induced, enticed, and coerced have their own ordinary everyday meaning. As to the third element, the government need not prove that prostitution was the conspirer's sole purpose to encourage individuals to travel across state and international lines. A person may have several different purposes or motives for such conduct, and each may promote a varying degrees the person's actions. The government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a significant or motivating purpose of encouraging individuals to travel across state or international lines with these individuals would engage in prostitution. In other words, the conspirer's intent that the individual engage in that prostitution may not have been merely incidental to the transportation. The intent of the individuals who traveled or engaged in the illegal sexual activities is not the issue. So what I want y'all to listen to is that they're talking about conspirers, okay? Cassie was a co-conspirator, you guys. I've said this to you guys. I don't know why people act like I didn't say that. She was a co-conspirator. Jane was a co-conspirator. The assistants were either co-conspirators or they aided in these things because they were setting up the rooms and cleaning them up. And I told y'all cleaning them up involved getting rid of any type of paraphernalia paraphernalia that would have been incriminating, something that could be leaked to TMZ and go viral. Okay. So, with that being said, the way the judge charged the jury was the co-conspirator, if they conspired to do this. And there were text messages that showed that Diddy and Cassie, Diddy and Jane conspired to bring the escorts from one place to the other. And I'm reading you the judge's charges because this is what the judge brought down. This is how the jury came to the decision that they made because of how the judge explained the jury was to come with the charges. Okay. So aiding and abetting, willfully causing a violation. All right. In addition to alleging a violation of the substantive offenses of transportation to engage in prostitution and inducement, the inducement also alleges aiding and abetting the commission of those offenses or willfully causing those offenses. I have already instructed you on aiding and abetting liability under federal law, and you should apply the definitions here. And that's on page 10. I have also already instructed you on willfully causing a crime under federal law, and you should apply the definition here on page 11. Now I can go back to pages 10. All right. On attempt, we'll read the attempt. We'll read aiding and abetting. Aiding and abetting is kind of long, you guys. Willfully causing a crime. Okay, those three things is what they were looking at. So he says that he would define three concepts: an attempt to commit a crime, aiding and abetting, and the commission of a crime, and willfully causing a crime. The definition I provide here are for federal offenses only, and each time the government alleges an attempt, aiding and abetting, or willfully causing a crime under federal law, I will refer you back to these definitions, okay? Under federal law, in order to find a person guilty of an attempt theory, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that 1, the person intended to commit the crime charged, and 2, the person willfully took some action that was a substantial step in an effort to bring about or accomplish the crime. So that would be the setting up of the flights, paying for the hotel rooms, et cetera, right? Mere intention to commit a specific crime does not amount to an attempt. In order to convict a person of an attempt, you must find beyond a reasonable doubt that he intended to commit the crime charge and that he took some action with substantial steps towards the commission of the crime. In determining whether a person's actions amounted to a substantial step towards the commission of the crime, you must distinguish between mere preparation on the one hand and the action doing the criminal deed on the other, which again brings in those travel charts, right? Mere preparation without more is not an attempt. The acts of the person who intends to commit a crime will constitute an attempt where the acts themselves indicate an intention to willfully commit a crime. So the actions have to line up. The thought, the intention is there, okay? To be guilty of an attempted crime, there is no requirement that the person have actually committed the crime he was attempting to commit. So the intention is there, right? That's what they're saying. If the intention is there, the thought is there to do it, then that's attempt because you had the intention, right? Aiding and abetting. All right. So next they go into what aiding and abetting is and under federal law, what it means. Okay. Whoever aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures the commission of an offense is punishable as a principle. You should give these words their ordinary meaning. A person aids or abets a crime if he knowingly does some act for the purpose of aiding or encouraging the commission of that crime with the intent of causing the crime charged to be committed. All right. To counsel means to give advice or recommend. To induce means to lead or move by persuasion or influence as to such some action of or of state of mind. Okay. To procure means to bring about by unscrupulous or indirect means. To cause means to bring something about or to affect. So again, when you get into those travel charts, and I'm just breaking down for y'all what the judge charged the jury with. when it came down to the transportation to engage, because all the other stuff doesn't matter because he was not charged with that. So we're not talking about that. All right. So when you go into those charts, and I really wish that they would release those charts into evidence. Maybe they have and I don't have it, because clearly there's evidence that has been going around that people have gotten their hands on, but everybody ain't sharing. And that's cool, because the charts will eventually come into play and I will get them for you. Now, in those charts, you saw the freak off conversation to set up. This is what was going to happen. So there's the conspiring, okay? Conspiring with Cassie or Jane for this. Again, Cassie and Jane have immunity because they were co-conspirators. Then you see, I'll get the place, you get the entertainment. Then you see the hotels and all of that being paid for. We've been down this road already and I've explained to y'all. So when you get into that and you listen to what the judge is charging, then you see why they found him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay. A person, okay, we already read that. As you can see, the first requirement is that another individual has committed the crime charged. Obviously, no one can be convicted of aiding and abetting the criminal acts of another if no crime was committed by other individuals. So this is where, when everybody is screaming, Cassie needs to be in jail and Jenny needs to be in jail. If one of these, listen, if this was a federal case brought on, let's say Clayton Howard filed his lawsuit and the government saw it and they decided to take that lawsuit and make it a federal case because they saw things that were federally chargeable in his case, then guess what? Cassie, Jane, all of them would be sitting there on the defense table because they would be co-conspirators to all of this. But with the conspiring happening and Diddy being the one that's on trial and not them, this is why it's applying to Diddy. I don't know if anybody is explaining it like that or breaking it down for people to understand, but I know people like salaciousness and they love to get some things going, right? But this is the truth of the matter, child, because had this not been based off of Cassie's civil suit, Cassie would be in an orange jumpsuit, tingling the bell and recharge the energy. Let's get back into it though. All right. To aid and abet another to commit a crime, it is necessary that the person you are considering willfully and knowingly associated himself in some way with the crime. So even though he's sitting in the corner playing Diddy jerk off, it's too early for that. Okay, he's playing one man spot him. Okay, he's over there doing his own thing, watching it. He's still involved in some type of way. So that's why when people are saying, even the defense is like, look, he wasn't the one sleeping with them. This was for the girls. Okay, he was paying for his girlfriends to cheat on him. All right, like he was just providing something for his lover. I had to laugh at lover because that is, oh my God. Jane drove that word into the ground, didn't she? Oh, I was just doing it for my lover. I want to make my lover happy. So even though he wasn't engaging in the actual acts, it's the fact that he was there engaging in an act with himself in the same room, recording it. I don't have nothing in here that I could put over my face. So we're going to use 2 pieces of printer paper to try to make this point. This is Diddy and the freak off, y'all. That even though he's in the freak off like this, the fact of the matter is he was still in the freak off. In the corner playing peekaboo. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. We'll get back to what I was reading. I couldn't help myself, okay? I could not help myself. All right, so that he was associated with it, all right? An act is done knowingly when it is done purposefully and intentionally, as opposed to mistakenly or inadvertently, okay? A person acts intentionally when he acts deliberately and purposefully. So he deliberately and purposefully was Call Cowboys for Angels. Okay, you go over there and you go get the Punisher. Hey girl, get the Punisher and bring him in here. We need a little punishment tonight. I'll get the room. Sorry, but he was involved in some steps. Okay. Anyway, the mere presence of a person where a crime is being committed, even coupled with knowledge by that person that a crime is being committed, or the mere acquaintance by a person in the criminal conduct of others, even with guilty knowledge, is not sufficient to establish aiding and abetting. The aider and abetter must have some interest in the criminal venture and must take some action to assist or encourage the commission of the crime. Well, he was taking actions to assist because all of this freaking off was on his dime, his business dime. He said, girl, don't worry about it. We going to freak off forever in these rooms for 3 to 5 business days. Okay. I'm sorry. It wasn't 3 to 5, but we going to freak off in these rooms. This going to be a business meeting. I'm sorry. We going to freak off. This a business meeting right here. We having a meeting of the minds and other things as well. So, I'm just going to write it off of our taxes as a business meeting. Take that. Okay. 3 to 4 business days of freaking off is wild, okay? High off of E, GHB, and 2C and all of that, child. Anyway, all right, so we read that, all right? The mere presence of a person where a crime is being committed, we read that already. Right? To determine whether a person aided and abetted the commission of a crime with which he is charged, ask yourself these questions. Did he participate in the crime charged as something he wished to bring about? Y'all answer that question. Was this something that he wished to bring about? Did he associate himself with the criminal venture knowingly and willfully? Did he seek by his actions to make the criminal venture succeed? If he did, then the person is an aider and abetter and therefore guilty of the offense. If the answer to any one of these questions is no, then the person is not an aider or abetter and is not guilty as an aider or abetter. So those 4 questions, let me highlight them right there. 3, I said 4, 3 questions right here. And we don't like that. We like when it is blue. Okay. Them questions, let me zoom in just a little bit so everybody can see it. And I'm going to take my watermark down so y'all can see this real clear. Those are 3 of the questions that had to be answered, okay, for that. Now, what is willfully causing a crime? A person may also be found guilty of a federal crime if he willfully causes an act to be done which, if directly performed by him or another, would be an offense against the United States. Him or another. Okay? Him or another. Ain't nobody but... Listen, Orlando, tell them to leave us alone. Tell them to leave us alone. I ain't bothering him. Now, I'm trying to give the people an understanding of how we got here to the charge. Okay, don't come in here coming for me, because I ain't coming for him. And I'm going to make my jokes this morning. I sure the hell am, because I'm not emotionally attached to this. I just get passionate when I be talking about things. Anyway, what does the term willfully caused mean? Now, I hope while I'm reading all of this to y'all also understand that your ass may be guilty of some of this shit too. Okay, if you are in the room, now it means that the person himself need not have physically committed the crime or supervised or participated in the actual criminal conduct charged in the indictment if he willfully causes the doing of an act, which is done by him directly, would render him guilty of an offense. Willfully causes the doing of an act. I mean, if he's sitting there saying, finish strong and keep going, king, is he willfully doing it? I don't know. Is that aiding and abetting, y'all? This is crazy work, right? Okay, so the meaning of the term willfully cause can be found in the answers of the following questions. So here we go. Here are more questions that they had to ask. First, did the person have a mental state, the mental state required for the offense? Well, I don't know if any of them had the mental state because they were high as hell. Anyway, second, did the person intentionally cause another individual, including an innocent intermediary, to engage in the conduct that makes up the offense? I know you not talking about these escorts was innocent. Oh, well, damn. I didn't see that when I came in here. I done found $15 on the floor in Henny Studios. Whoop, 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 whoop. I don't know when I dropped it because I don't usually carry cash anymore. But hey, thank you for the blessing. Anyway, this is not... Andre, what are you talking about? Andre says, Cassie consented. This is why the lawsuit didn't work in her favor as a married woman. What lawsuit? Because that girl walked away with 20 M's. What lawsuit are you talking about? I am confusion. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Yeah, I see, and it's cool. As long as they don't start coming for me, I don't care. Janine, would you like to come? Would any of y'all like to come up here and voice your opinions? Listen, because I know y'all want to say something, and Janine is not coming for me. She said, let Diddy go. Okay, you entitled to feel that way. Diddy more rich than we are. I tell you that. He that now, Killer Rob, I'll agree with you in that. I ain't got no $400 million in my bank account. I'll close my eyes and imagine that is there to see all the numbers. Is 400 million in my account. Okay, take that. We ain't got the tax bracket, okay? But he listen, this trial, I lived in the state of New York for many, many years. So my tax dollars was paying for this, okay? What's green money? Money. What's green is money, honey. I don't know what else you talking about. Because they didn't have a case at all. Well, Janine, you can't even say that because I just read. See, you got to rewind. I'm not even going to engage because this is why I read the judge's charges to everybody because people keep saying they didn't have no case. They didn't have no case. Child, they had a case. Now, did they try their case to the fullest extent and the best way that they can? No, they did. They didn't. And I'm sorry. They didn't. They did. Come on now. There was pictures of all of them firearms there with the scratched off serial numbers and all of that. They didn't want Diddy. I keep telling y'all, I think this was about Diageo and humiliation. That's what I believe. And they was coming for his money. That's what I believe. Because there was way too much that they could have done that they didn't do. Let's be realistic here. Like, you know. But now when I read, well, what's green? My Cash App. My Cash App is green. My Chime app is green. And my Chime credit builder card is green. What's green is these leaves. Anyway, so when I'm reading the judge's charges to the jury, which I just did, that helps you to understand how the jury came to the conclusion that they did on counts 3 and 5. that was the purpose of me reading that for you guys. Okay. So if you missed that portion of programming, please rewind and go back and listen to what the judge told the jury according to federal law. This is not off of me thinking off the top of my head. Because let me be real with y'all. Built a better case than the government did. I went into them 35 predicate offenses, baby, and you can't take that away from me. Because I went into them 35 predicate offenses and I was able to bloop, 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 bloop. This is what this is and that is what that is. But they didn't go for all of them. But anyway, let's continue with what we've been doing. So now I've broken that down to you guys as to what the judge charged the jury with as far as finding the transportation to engage in prostitution. Like, I'm not reading any of the other stuff, the kidnapping and all of that other blah, 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 because none of that stuff actually came to fruition in this case. He was found not guilty. So there was no need to get into any of that. Now, let me just give y'all this portion and then we'll move on and get into what it is that the defense is asking for now. So here we are at engaging in prostitution, okay? So it says prostitution, which is, I'm going to read this because it seems like people forget this part. Prostitution is the practice or an instance of engaging in sexual activity for money or its equivalent. If the government establishes each of the elements of this crime beyond reasonable doubt, then the defendant is guilty of this charge, whether or not the individual agreed or consented to cross state or international lines, and whether or not he or she agreed or consented to engage in prostitution. The intent of the individuals who traveled or engaged in prostitution is not the issue. So yet again, this is for those of you who are just getting here, this is the charges to the jury from the judge. Okay. And this is a document that is readily available. If you are part of the members, I can go ahead and read this whole document for you guys so that y'all can hear everything. But right now, really not going to serve any good. But you see, these are the jury charges. So this is not a document that Henny just made up on her own. Sis. All right. So now, going back to this document right here with Marc Agnifilo, this was filed on July 30th, which is the following. Oh, you didn't see that. You didn't see that. Hold on. Oh, you're looking at the Marc Agnifilo one. All right. Then we wake up today on the 30th and we have a whole new case, or not case, but we have a whole new filing that has happened. And this comes from Alexandra Shapiro. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I was about to show y'all the wrong damn thing, child. All right, let me get into it. Let me get into it for y'all. It's loading, you guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yes, I'm laughing hard with you and you. Thank you. I try my best to entertain. All right, so here we are. A memorandum of law in support of defendant Sean Combs, renewed motion for judgment of acquittal, or in the alternative, a new trial. Okay, again, this was filed yesterday. So we've had filings back to back. All right. Now, I'm only going to read a little bit of this to y'all because I don't want to bore everybody, because as you can see, this was very long-winded. All right. But let's get into this introduction, shall we? No, I don't have my glasses. I broke the arm on my, oh, you don't see it. Are you seeing it? Where am I? Oh, I am showing it to y'all. All right. I got a little lost. Hey. I know y'all are not in here fighting. Tisa tells is doing far too much. She will learn the hard way, just like Tasha K. Well, Ivan, Listen, we don't mention other people, other content creators over here. What they do in their dojo is their business, and what I do in mine is mine. But let's get into this introduction of what the defense has submitted to the judge. All right. So it says, let me change my screen because I know, y'all want to see me. I want to see y'all too. Hey, y'all. All right. Since the government arrested Sean Combs last September, it has painted him as a monster. Yeah, I'm going to read it dramatically. Okay. For months, prosecutors accused him of running a 20-year racketeering enterprise of sex trafficking multiple women. But his 2 month trial showed these charges were not supported by credible evidence, and the jury rejected them. Mr. Combs now stands convicted only of 2 prostitution counts under the Mann Act, which doesn't require proof of coercion, threats, or fraud. The government told the jury it had to convict so long as Mr. Combs arranged for a longtime girlfriend or a paid male escort or entertainer to travel across state lines to get together and have sex. And that is all the jury convicted him for. To our knowledge, Mr. Combs is the only person ever convicted of violating the statute for conducting anything like this. And that's true. It is undisputed that he had no commercial motive and that all involved were adults. The men chose to travel and engage in the activity voluntarily. The verdict confirms the women were not vulnerable or exploited or trafficked or sexually assaulted during the freak-offs or hotel nights, and Mr. Combs never had sex with the supposed prostitutes. We were aware of no other case in which a person was convicted under 18 USC subsection 2421A, even though he made no money from the prostitution, didn't have sex with the alleged prostitutes, and didn't arrange the transportation with intent of committing sexual assault, sexual trafficking, or a sex crime involving a minor. Now, I just read to y'all what the jury charges were. Remember, I said the defense's job is to put on a defensive case, and their job is to be persuasive. With reading those jury charges, you now understand why he got charged with the transportation to engage in prostitution. All right. In short, this conviction stands alone, but it should not stand alone. First, application of the Mann Act in these circumstances is unprecedented. Construing it to reach Mr. Combs' conduct would raise serious fair notice and discriminatory enforcement concerns. All right. Prostitution is not defined in the statute and is not normally up to states and localities to regulate and define prostitution or not. The term has had multiple different meanings over time and depending on the jurisdiction. And in the 2000s, multiple state courts have held that paying for voyeurism to watch other people have sex is not prostitution. The lack of statutory definition and changing an inconsistent ordinary meaning of the term and the fact most states where the sexual activity occurred do not treat this conduct as prostitution creates a classic trap for the unwary, requiring a narrow interpretation that would not sweep in Mr. Combs' conduct. The statute should apply only to defendants with a commercial motive in the prostitution, or if it can be applied to consumers of prostitution, should not cover consumers who did not have sex with the adult prostitute. Again, what got him convicted, we just read it. It wasn't the fact that he had sex with the prostitute or not. It was the fact that he was there. Okay? Remember what the judge said in the charges. Second, even if prostitution includes a defendant who pays to observe two people have sex with each other, the evidence is insufficient to show that Mr. Combs had any such intent. What? That's not true. Okay. The proof at trial showed that he typically hired the services of male escorts or dancers advertised openly through lawful businesses, that the men were paid for their time, and that they enjoyed the activities and had friendships with Miss Ventura and Jane and were not merely traveling to have sex. But they have all since come out and done interviews. Did y'all know that Daniel Phillips came out and did an interview and they talked about having sex? Clayton Howard has talked about going there and they were motivated by the money for the sex. I think they need to see those videos. Wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. What is going on? Okay. It seems that you know there may be some kabuffling that is going on. I'm stating facts as well. So this is what I want to know, Killer Rob, because you come here and you come here often, and sometimes we agree, and a lot of times we disagree. So I want to know what I've said this morning that was not a fact, or were you not talking to me? I need to know that, because I'm stating facts based off of court documents. I read the judge's charges to the jury. Those are facts. That's what the judge said to the jury. Those were the charges. He was charged with 2 counts of the Mann Act, which is prostitution. I read all of the definitions as to why he was convicted of that. Now I'm reading the defense's rebuttal to try to get a new trial or an acquittal. But it doesn't align with what we read in the judge's charges. So there's no lies being told. And I say alleged to protect my channel. Even when stating facts, I will say alleged. Sometimes I won't. But you got to be careful with what you say and do. So I'm trying to ask you what I have said that wasn't a fact. Because see, here's the thing. It's okay to support which either side that you want to. There's a lot of people that feel like free Diddy, and that's cool. There's a lot of people that feel like, hey, all of the people, you know, that got up there didn't necessarily tell the truth. That's cool too. But when you are reading off law, when you're reading off the judge's orders, when you're reading off how the jury came to the decision of something, and you still choose to ignore what's being placed before you, that's a choice that you're making to ignore it. I've never once said that these weren't good lawyers, but I've also explained that defense attorneys, their job is to create doubt when it comes to a trial, smoke and mirrors when it comes to the jury. A lot of the narratives that people are picking up are the defense's narratives. But when you get downright into what was actually going on in a case, and you actually listen to the judge and hear what he's saying, and you listen to how the prosecution laid their case down, then you understand what they were charging versus what is being said. You understand what the defense is saying versus what's being charged. You get to see the full scope of it. But when you take a one stance and only listen to one side, that's a bias. And while a lot of people feel like I am biased, I'm not. I'm actually in the middle, and I call things how I see it. The difference between me and a lot of other people is I'm not emotionally invested. I'm not clout chasing off of Diddy's name. I'm reporting on his video, yes, but I'm not gobbling his glizzy. I've said he's not guilty of the RICO and the sex trafficking. I have said that I'm surprised because I was in the courtroom and I saw it. I'm not sitting up here. When the defense had a good day, I told everybody that the defense had a good day. When the prosecution had a good day, the prosecution had a good day. I came out of that courtroom and said that Bonna, I don't know if she's slow or if she was high when she was in there. I don't know what's going on with her. I told y'all that the girl was loopy. I came out and I told y'all that I didn't know how to feel about Jane. I told y'all Mia was a little tricky. So you can't come in here and tell me that I'm biased when I'm just stating a fact. That's not true, Janine. Where are you getting your information from? Because the other video I read what the judge said, and the reason why he didn't get bail is because of his propensity of violence. Because of the violence. How you gonna put me at the water table one hot mama? I've been good today. And I'm still being good. Because what I'm done with is arguing with people that don't want to hear nothing. Like, if you don't want to hear it, don't hear it. But it's not a bias to sit out and point something out. Sorry. I'm just not that invested. What I cared about was how things were going to go down in the trial and how it would affect everyday people like us and how they're now changing the face of what RICO looked like when they were charging him with RICO. That's what I was looking at. And that's what I was talking about the whole trial. I've said Cassie and Jane and all of them were co-conspirators. I've said that they got immunity because they were co-conspirators. So what do y'all want me to do? I'm not going to get up here and pull out my pom-poms and my cheerleader dress. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that for nobody. And let me explain. For those who don't know, who are new, I have a son that is incarcerated. And you don't hear me out here saying my son is innocent. You hear me say that my son was railroaded and overcharged. You hear me saying that. But you don't hear me out here saying that my own son is innocent. You hear me saying I love my son. And I support my son. And I ride with my son through this bid. You've heard me say that I don't approve of the actions my son chose for himself. So before anyone try to say, what if it was your family member? I'm a realist. I'm not delusional. And maybe one day, with my son's permission, we'll talk about him. Maybe one day, he'll get on here like he has in the past and he'll speak to y'all. And he'll tell y'all for himself his story. Maybe one day. So when I say that I feel like giving Diddy 20 years for transportation to engage in prostitution is overcharge, I mean that. When I say giving him 10 years would be too much, I mean that. 5 years, I could see that. 3 years, I could see that. But what I'm not going to do is be delusional. I just gave you what the judge told the jury and how he got convicted. Now I'm reading to you what the defense is saying. And what the defense is saying is giving you different from what the judge charged already. But guess what? That's their job. I've never gotten up here. Okay, I said something about Brian Steele one day because I didn't like the way that he was handling someone. It wasn't just the Cassie video, though, Janine. It was everything. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I don't know where you're getting your information from. Because I've showed the bruises on Cassie's body. I've talked about the story that she told about all of it. There was violence there. There was also violence against his assistants. So at the end of the day, the judge brought up the history of violence. It wasn't just the video. It was the history of violence because it was more than just the Intercontinental video. But see, when I get up here and I say things, and you see how me and you are having a dialogue and you're saying what you're saying and I'm having a conversation with you, just note that this is the difference between someone coming with respect versus someone trolling me and coming at me. I can feel the energy when somebody's coming for me. But I'm reading what you're saying and you're listening to what I'm saying. And I can appreciate anybody that could sit and do that. We don't have to agree. We're all people. We're not going to agree on everything. We're going to see things so differently on different parts of life. But then there'll be other parts where we do agree. There's a lot of people that don't agree with me right now. But you know what? They'll show up for a different type of video. And the reason they show up for those videos is because they like what I have to say in that video. There's content creators right now that I don't agree with their stance. They don't agree with my stance. But guess what? We were still able to find a common ground in other areas of life. This is just an opinion on one thing. And I already expect to catch the heat because I'm not out here champion one way or the other. So with that being said, that's why the judge didn't grant him bail. He didn't grant him bail because of the history of violence. And he said, there's no way for us to govern violence that happens behind a closed door, or that he has these bouts of anger. I feel you, Janine. I don't advocate for violence against anyone either. I don't either. I'm somebody that if I find out that a man is being domestically abused, I will talk about that. And I will talk about it the same way that I've talked about domestic abuse in female cases. Listen, I've learned to have compassion with people. I've learned that people have issues and things that they have to deal with. And what I advocate for is people in the African American community, in the Black and brown communities, whatever you want to call it, but I can only speak for the African American community, melanated people. Therapy is not your enemy. There's been a stigmatism on mental health when it comes down to us for so long. And that's why a lot of people have so much going on mentally that they fall victim to things like this. I'm an advocate for people getting mental health. I'm also an advocate for people adding a spiritual piece to that, because some of this trauma damages you soul deep. Your soul is tarnished. Some people have been holding trauma for so long in their bodies that it has become a part of who they are, because it has altered their behavior. It's altered their view on life. It's altered the way they treat people. It's altered their thinking. So it becomes a part of them. And in this case, one thing that nobody can ever take away from me is, in the midst of all of this, I was the first one and the only one that was advocating for Diddy to get any type of mental health, substance abuse help, sex abuse help, or sex addiction. I'm sorry. Sex addiction, drug addiction, and mental health. I've been advocating for that. I've been saying he needs that. So to hear Marc Agnifilo say that he needs that, I hand clap that and applaud it, because, okay, the bullshit is off the table and we're getting real. I have also said that Diddy is not a throwaway. He's not somebody to throw away. That man has a brilliant mind, has accomplished a lot of things. But who he is in the public eye and in business is not what's on trial. What's on trial is who he was behind closed doors and what he was doing behind closed doors. That's what was on trial. And now we're talking about the transportation to engage in prostitution. And what the judge said and what they're saying now to get him out. The defense is supposed to absolutely fight tooth and nail to get Diddy out of jail. They are. They are. So I'm not sitting up here saying they're wrong at all. So for those of you who have opposing views that stay and that, understand where I'm coming from, you even attempt to listen to what's going on, despite how your personal views are, how you feel, I appreciate that. But those who come at me trolling or think you're going to come in my comment section coming for me, I'm on timing with you. And when I feel aggression, I match energy. When I feel things, I match it. And that's why I'm going to come back and clap back every time. But when I'm very passionate about what I'm saying, I can get aggressive with what I'm saying because I'm passionate and I mean it. And I would love to see more of our people getting therapy and help to deal with their trauma. Because a lot of us, especially men, house that trauma in. Men don't know how to release because they're not taught to release. They're taught to man up, suck it up. Men don't cry. Men don't complain. Men don't vent. And that's what causes a lot of problems when it comes to men. And then us as women, we're taught to be vulnerable. We're taught to vent. We're taught to do all of these things, and society applauds us every step of the way. But when a man gets up here and a man starts venting and a man starts talking about the things that he's had going on in his life, he does not get championed on. He gets ridiculed. He gets bashed. He gets side-eye. He gets called a simp. But yet they talk about wanting peace. You can't have peace in your home when you're causing the chaos and you don't know how to decompress or disrobe yourself from the robes of trauma. And your actions are showing otherwise. And that goes for man or woman. So when I said this case had a lot of layers, I mean it. And I've spoken on those different layers. Diddy needs help. But let's continue to read what Shapiro was saying, because it's getting hot later in the day and it's going to get hot. Anyway, second, even if a prostitute includes a defendant who pays to observe two people have sex with each other, the evidence is insufficient to show that Mr. Combs had any such intent. The proof at trial showed that he typically hired the services of male escorts or dancers, advertised openly through lawful businesses, that the men were paid for their time and that they enjoyed the activities and had friendships with Miss Ventura and Jane, and were not merely traveling for sex, traveling to have sex for money. Third, if the statute is interpreted to cover Mr. Combs's conduct, his conviction must be reversed because it violates the First Amendment. The freak-offs and hotel nights were performances that he and his girlfriends typically videotaped so they could watch them later. In other words, he was producing amateur pornography for private viewing later, for private viewing. This is protected First Amendment conduct that no substantial government interest justifies prohibiting, since the films depicted adults voluntarily engaging in consensual activities. Now, here's the issue that I have with that, because it was testified to in court that he was using those videos as blackmail material, and Cassie's mother testified to having to pay him $20,000 to stop him from putting out a video, even though he sent the money back. The fact of the matter is, in the text message, the threat went out. Cassie's mother sent the money. That's the act right there. So, they weren't just private viewing, they were blackmail materials. Fourth, if the court declines to grant an acquittal, a new trial is required under Rule 33 due to the severe spillover prejudice from reams of inflammatory evidence. This evidence, particularly the intercontinental footage, was admissible only because of the RICO and sex trafficking charges. It would never have been admitted at trial solely on the Mann Act counts, and it was irrelevant and unfairly prejudicial. Under the Second Circuit's retroactive misjoiner doctrine, a new trial limited to evidence admissible to prove the Mann Act charges is warranted. Sean Combs sits in jail based on evidence that he paid male escorts and entertainers who engaged in consensual sexual activities with his former girlfriends, which he videotaped and later watched with the girlfriends. This is not prostitution. And if it is, his conviction is unconstitutional. The court should grant an acquittal, or at an at absolute minimum, a new trial on the Mann Act counts alone. Okay. Then it goes into the background of the case. It gives you a history of the White Slave Act, which is the Mann Act. And then they go into giving you other cases that are similar. Not exact, but similar. All right. Y'all know what that means. That means it's starting to heat up in Henny Studios. There's something else that I want to show you guys, okay, that I want to review with y'all. Let me close out all these other windows, but let me make sure that before I do that there is still no government response. No, the government still has not responded. And I find that very troubling because normally what would happen is the government was sitting. I'm sorry that my computer is doing that thing that it does. I'm closing out a lot of the windows to try to help us out. Okay. Normally what was going on in this trial was the defense would submit something, the government would then respond. The government would submit something, and then the defense would respond. And it was kind of like this dance with the paperwork. It was a back and forth that was going on. Why am I frozen like that? I'm about to turn my camera off, y'all, because I hate when I get frozen like that. I think it freezes me in some of the most awkward positions, and I look crazy when it does that. And I hate that for us. Now, there was something that I came across yesterday that I'm going to actually attempt to play for y'all today. Well, let me just do this since I'm having a hard time. Oh, this side seems to be getting a little warm. Now, this is going to be a video, and I don't know. I don't know how to take all of this in when it comes to this. Hold on one second, you guys. Let me try to pull this closer. Hopefully that helps to try to cool off some of it. Okay. Here we go. Y'all ready? Yeah, he did say he didn't want any back and forth. He absolutely did say that. He said that he just wanted examples of cases, but there's still arguments that are being had. What in the world? Okay, maybe that is going to help us out a bit. So yesterday, as I was scrolling, I came across this Art of Dialogue. Yes, he did put up $50 million. He's offering $50 million to be released. I gotta make new screen thingies. All right, here we go, y'all. This is an Art of Dialogue conversation that he had, and it looks like there's another interview that he has done, and it looks like he is becoming the number one source for Clayton Howard. Okay, now Clayton in this video is here with Daniel Phillips. Now, if you don't remember Daniel Phillips is the escort that testified in the case against Diddy. So let's watch.
Happy to have y'all both on the platform, man. For the people that's not familiar with y'all, introduce yourself to the people.
All right, man. I'm Clayton Howard. I am the gentleman who had the courage to sue Cassie for being part of the conspiracy that Diddy recently beat.
Once again, he sued Cassie and Diddy. Cassie and Diddy. Okay, not just Cassie. Cassie and Diddy.
And I'm Daniel Phillip. I'm the guy that everybody's been looking for, trying to find out who I am. But yeah, I was also one of the guys that was subpoenaed to testify against Diddy in the Diddy and Cassie trial. I was one of the guys that was intimate with Cassie.
Out of curiosity, how did both of y'all meet?
We met inside of a Diddy freak off, which is a chapter in my book, where the two of us had a, how can you know what, we'll just say it for what it is. We had an orgy with Cassie. No.
Notice that we're talking about the book again. Well, now we're talking about the book. It's a chapter in his book, but it's also a chapter in the case. Let's not forget that. Well, I don't even know if they brought it up in the case. Let me not say that. But anyway, let's continue.
Homosexual activity involved.
Dang, I don't want to go inside already. I feel like a kid. I don't want to go inside because the temperatures are getting a little up there already. It's not gonna let us watch. I'm gonna have to go inside. I hate when still hear. Okay. I'm sorry about that, guys. I know eyes are in the chat right now. Like, what the heck is going on, Henny? Where you going? But y'all know my computer get to acting up, and I really have to work on getting that situated because I like being in Henny Studios talking to y'all versus inside of the house. But yeah, we'll have to save this for at night. Anyway, so while I'm waiting to fix this, let's just get into it. Yes, it's very hot. It's very, very hot. So I'm shutting down the computer all the way and we're going inside. Now, what I was saying to y'all earlier about the prosecution and the defense while I get myself situated to go inside is that the government has not said anything, okay? The judge gave them until today to respond. Now, giving them until today to respond does not mean that they had until 9 o'clock to answer, to what the defense is putting out there. Because first of all, the defense is asking for bail. The defense is asking for an acquittal, and they're also asking for a new trial. So now this is three things that have been thrown out there. And I'm just going to go ahead and say this while we transport back into another space. I have been chatting it up with people, and a lot of folks are feeling like they're taking advantage of the fact that Maureen Comey is not there, right? But my thing to that is, I don't think it's just necessarily like because Maureen Comey isn't there, because you still have Smizer and Johnson and Slavic who were there as well. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Let me fix myself on this screen. Can I fix myself on the screen? Style. Is that... Oh, no. Okay, there we go. All right. That's better. You still have other AUSAs who were there during the trial who are privy to the trial. Oh my God. Now, I don't know if that's going to necessarily affect anything, being that Maureen is gone, and another attorney will be coming in, which we've also talked about that too, how there is a Trump appointee who was there as an intern in the Southern District of New York, and we don't know if he's going to take on Maureen Comey's cases. Not only that, not only that, I have not seen anything anywhere that has spoken to who is replacing her. I haven't seen any publications that indicate this person is now taking on Maureen Comey's case, or they're stepping in place of Comey. So there may not be anyone coming. You know, that's a possibility, I think, as well. So in this, right now, as it stands, I feel like we're really going to get a chance to see what her impact is on this case, and her absence, what her absence from this case, how it's going to impact it. That's what I meant to say. Her impact, the impact of her absence. That's what I was saying. Got it out finally. So let's see, because they have until midnight tonight to submit a response to everything. Now they have 3 things that they have to respond to as the government. So I don't know if the judge is going to... All right, Nino, drive safely. I don't know if the judge is going to say, well, you know, we'll give you till Monday to respond. But I would say that it wouldn't be far-fetched to say, hey, this is kind of like system overload right here, because you just came and you just asked for a bail. Now you're back and you're asking for an acquittal and a new trial. So I don't know. What do y'all think down in the comments? Y'all thinking that this is gonna have... I don't know. Hold on, you guys. I'm logging in right now as we speak. I had to shut all the way down and come back to reality. All right. Hold on, we're gonna be there. All right, so let me go ahead and get myself back into here. All right, there goes the art of dialogue.
Happy to have y'all both on the platform, man. For the people that's not familiar with y'all, introduce yourself to the people.
All right, man. I'm Clayton Howard. I am the gentleman who had the
All right, you guys. All right, and I'm back. Hold on, let me get my microphone in. Hold on. I'm coming. Audio. Okay, microphone check. Microphone checker. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me now? Can y'all hear me good? It shouldn't be echoing anymore. It should have cleared up. All right.
Diddy recently beat.
And I'm Daniel Phillip. I'm the guy that everybody's been looking for, trying to find out who I am. But yeah, I was also one of the guys that was subpoenaed to testify against Diddy in the Diddy and Cassie trial. I was one of the guys that was, intimate with Cassie.
Out of curiosity, how did both of y'all meet?
We met inside of a Diddy freak off, which is a chapter in my book, where the two of us had a, how can you know what? We'll just say it for what it is. We had an orgy with Cassie. No homosexual activity involved. Got to say that for the record.
Okay, so I no homosexual activity involved. He's making sure that he lets that be known that they did not touch one another. But this right here, this gentleman is Daniel Phillips, and y'all already know who this is with the footy sneakers on. That would be Clayton Howard, and these would be two of the escorts that have engaged in this type of activity with Diddy and Cassie.
Diddy called each one of us independently to come meet Cassie. Neither of us were told about the history of each other, but basically we were brought together for a competition to see who could last the longest to allegedly be her main provider or main guy, whatever she wanted to call it.
Yo, that's funny though, because he describes it that way, Art. But to me, I was there before him, and they asked me if it would be okay for them to bring somebody else. I didn't even know whether it was going to be like another guy or whatever, but he shows up. They never mentioned anything to me about a competition, man. Apparently they mentioned to him that we was having some big competition or whatever to see who lasts the longest. But, I'm either way, I'm happy that I didn't take that consolation prize. Let's just say that.
Here we have Daniel Phillips, who was there during the time, who is saying that, listen, it wasn't brought to me that this was a competition. That's not how they presented it to me. They just asked me if I would be okay if somebody else joined in. So,
So take me through that exact day. Like, what exactly happened?
Let me start first.
It's just weird, bro. Like, I mean, you can start if you want, man. It's strange. I'll say that and let you do your thing, bro.
All right. So I get a phone call from Cassie this day, like, hey, what's up? And like, she's beautiful, she's intelligent. I have been sleeping with her for years at this point. And truthfully, considering the way the situation worked, every time I used to see her number come on the phone, it was like cha-ching, payday.
What was the motivation? What was his motivation for going? Cha-ching, payday.
So I see her call this day. I'm like, okay, band off. We're going to G off today. Cass is calling me. So when I get on the phone, normally when I get on the phone with her, she's like friendly, she's affable, she's inviting. This time, however, she's the same thing, but she throws in, hey, would you mind if another guy was here? Now, at that point, I thought I was the only guy.
At that point, you thought you was the only one. You thought you was special. I gotta find that clip of 50 Cent saying that. You thought you was special? That's what he thought. He thought he was special. But I want y'all to listen to what they're saying about this whole experience and then go back to what was being said, because it's a little,
So naturally, and I think I told you this the last interview, I was kind of hurt. Like, who is another person? So she starts explaining to me, and she literally lays it down like this, that she has two guys, and her and, Diddy want to get these guys together.
He was hurt. I told y'all that he caught feelings. I don't know. Everybody talks about Cassie. She got the golden snatch. I keep saying that. She got the golden snatch because even Daniel Phillips, let y'all watch this.
To see who's the best, because he doesn't want her to have two guys. He wants her to have one guy. So she literally puts this situation before me.
Who doesn't want her to have two guys? Who wants her to have one guy? Everybody say it in the comments.
Kind of making it seem like, you either gonna fuck or you gonna get fired. Realizing that situation, trying to protect my income stream, because I did consider her an income stream at the time, I had to strap up and go in for war,
He just said basically that he was hired and that Diddy told him that if he didn't strap up for war, he was going to be fired. But the truth of the matter is, he was in love with this girl. I don't care what nobody tries to tell me. He was slipping and sliding in Cassie's. He was sliding in her ocean, backstroking, breaststroke. And he fell in love. He caught feelings.
And that's how when I got there, I came across this brother. So I'll let him take over, then we can mingle.
Yeah, man. Yo, this is just weird, bro. Like, first off, it's weird as to already have another man in the room while you know having sex with a woman, but like it's a strange dynamic to have Cassie be as visually like stunning and sexy as she is. And then you know, a part of you is like, I really want to go in and do this, but then the other part of you is like, this motherfucker in the corner over here dictating how to do this and how to do that is.
Does it sound like Daniel Phillips might have caught a little bit of feelings too? Hold on, let's go back just a little bit. Let's rewind.
You want to go in and do this, but then the other part of you is as visually like stunning and sexy as she is. And then you know, a part of you is like, I really want to go in and do this, but then the other part of you is like, this motherfucker in the corner over here dictating how to do this and how to do that is like really like pulling me in the opposite direction.
And then this mofo in the corner dictating and directing. That's what he said. But he really want to go in as visually stunning and as beautiful. Yeah. I got the magic stick. I know if I can hit once, I get hit twice. I am the baddest. I'm sorry. That song just popped in my head. I'm sorry.
So you take that and then you add another guy to the mix. And it just gets real strange, man, especially once he becomes like active and you fall off and you just sitting there watching like, yo, I like it's just weird, bro. I don't know how else to explain that, man. It is weird. Bro, you ever had one of those cars that have a limiter on it? Like,
hold on. What? My head is still hurting, so I'm going to give you the same for slamming my head on a marble table and hitting me with glass vases. Oh, you must be behind, Ray.
You can't go past a certain speed. I mean, you bought this because it goes crazy fast, but you got to do 100 miles on that bitch before it actually opens up and allows you to go all the way. That's what it feels like.
So basically what he's saying is he couldn't open up full throttle and go all the way in on Cassie Punanter the way that he wanted to, because Diddy was directing and dictating what they could do and what they could not do during that time, which in a way it kind of is two different versions of things, because Clayton Howard was saying that it was Cassie that was doing majority of the dictating and had control. But then you hear Clayton, who actually got on the stand and testified to a lot of this stuff, saying that no, Diddy was ruining it for him because Diddy was dictating. And that's something that I didn't hear Clayton talk about the last few interviews that I watched of him. But I do plan on getting the book, just because he's like popping up everywhere. Like he's really on a press run. And now he's brought Daniel James into it as well. So we're going to, Daniel Phillips, I'm sorry, into the fold with this interview. But the way they all talk about her is like, she was beautiful. She was stunning. She was good at what she do. Like, and you could hear it in their voices that there was affections for her. Now, Clayton says he was there for years, so I guess the statement of people falling for people when you have sex with them, sex, what am I saying? Why am I spelling it out? We are almost there. that is a thing.
Feels like you got a limiter on it and you can't do your thing, bro.
You know what the worst experience, the realization, it wasn't even the worst experience. I want to say the eye-opening experience. That's a better thing to say, is when I walked into the room and he was in front of her with his penis in her face, I was heartbroken, yo. Because that's when the realization that she had other men doing the same thing I was doing to her, and she was doing to other men. That's when it hit me right there when I saw him, and she was loving it. Like, she's there, she's all engaged. This guy's, penis is in her face. Diddy's sitting over in the corner. I'm sitting on this couch. I'm sitting on, I think it was a chair there because we was in the bedroom. I'm sitting on the bedroom just drinking because honestly, I messed up. I got to get drunk just to continue because literally I'm thinking I'm making love to this beautiful woman for 2 years. And now I see that not only am I doing it, but he's doing it too. And he looks like he's having sex with her pretty much the same way I am.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings of the way we were. He was in his feelings, nothing more but feelings. I'm sorry. Y'all know I got to make light of some of this because this has been very tumultuous for me to get up here and report on Diddy every day after the trial. But I want you guys to pay attention to how they describe it, because to me, it seems like it gives two different versions. It's a tale of two cities, okay? It's a tale of two escorts. But at the end of it,
so it was definitely, it was an experience I had to adjust to in order to get through it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that too, bro, because the one thing that gets you out of this is Cassie is so relatable, like in person, like she's just a down ass, chill ass chick. Like like I was just talking to Clay before the interview, man. She used to lay on my lap on the couch, just shooting the talking for like hours while Diddy was doing whatever the hell he was doing in another room and whatnot. And, so when you go from feeling like you're building this kind of a friendship, relationship, connection, and she's telling you, you're the only one I'm doing this with. Yeah, you feel a little betrayed, a little butthurt, bro. when another dude, no pun intended, bro, but
you the only one. Yes, you took the words out of my head. Delusional, especially if you're telling us that this is something that both of them were in, and Diddy was into it the way y'all are saying Diddy was into it, because the way Daniel Phillips describes it is he said once Diddy get to going and he directing and dictating what you gonna do and putting a limit and a cap on what it is that you gonna do. But then you've got her laying in his lap, and Diddy is allowing this? You're allowing her to lay in his lap and tell him sweet nothings? What? Anyway.
I'll say that too.
You know what I mean? You feel a little bit violated, bro. It sucks. It's not a good feeling, my man. It's not a good feeling at all. Yeah.
So can I ask him something real quick? Can you say that you were just as disappointed when you saw me as when I saw you?
Hell yeah, I hated you, bro. I was like, this motherfucker, who is this motherfucker coming on my session? Yeah, I didn't like that at all, bro. I ain't like it at all, man.
Territorial or not? There's men in the chat. Is this a territory thing? Like, oh, they was butthurt and they was in their feelings about another man coming in, but you got another man sitting in the corner. What are we talking about? Is it because y'all thought y'all was the only ones that was hitting it? Like, how was y'all feeling these feelings? Is this a territory thing? Okay, Ray, don't come in here with your false narratives, because that was never established in court. That was never said. There was never anything that even slightly or remotely came to that. Like, we're not going to spread false information. That's what we're not going to do. Anyway, I'm asking you, Swagger, Nino, all the other men that are in here, is this ego? with these two, or is this feelings? I want to understand this. So y'all let me know, ego or feelings. Ladies, y'all can weigh in as well. Is this ego or feelings, or is it a combination of both? He said making love, right, Bianca? He said, I'm making love to her. Like, you making love? That's like he said that they were in a monogamous relationship. He thought that they were being monogamous. But meanwhile, you had a girlfriend and Diddy has been in the corner watching you every time. He's talking about Mia. We're not even talking about Mia. Mia's not even a portion of what this whole live has been about. This live has been about the Mann Act, the bail, the petition for either an acquittal or for a new trial. We're talking about the prostitution, and we have the prostitutes here. So this is all, it all goes together. Okay. We're on topic. Mia is a non-factor right now. So anybody that's still harping on Mia, Bonna, Dawn, anybody that's still harping on them, you're not focused on the case. Okay. You're still pushing a narrative because they're not even factors right now. The factors in this portion of programming where we are with the Diddy trial is the air travel, the hotel, the Jane, the Cassie, the escorts. That's what we're talking about. Mia is not the Asian chick. What are you talking about? Are you talking about Gina? Is that who you're talking about? Because Ray, I'm letting you know right now, you are way off topic. Read the room. We are on a whole different topic. Please stay on topic. Thank you. Let's get back into the video.
And but after a couple of breaks and we started talking a little something like, yo, this is crazy, right? And weird and whatnot. And, like we started shooting this, realized we was cool and whatnot. And, that aggression toward each other, I guess, kind of started like dissipating a little bit. But
so our friendship was built inside of a P. Diddy freak off.
Yeah.
No homo.
Which that should sound crazy, bro.
Like, you don't have to keep saying no homo, hun. We get it.
It's the truth.
Yeah. How long was the sessions?
2 days.
2 days, about a day and a half, 2 days. Yo, bro, bro. They used to go in, bro. Yeah. It's kind of funny because the session only ended. Like my brother over here was tired, bro. Like we had been up like 2 days. Neither of us was really indulging in any drugs with them at the time. So we were like regular and they were high off of ecstasy and Molly. So, they could be up 2-3 days. So me and him maybe like a day and a half in. I remember I approached him and I said, yo, bro, listen, it don't got to be no winner here. We could both say we tired and we could split the check. What's up, bro? He says, I don't know about you, brother, but I'm good.
But check it, dude. Like, yeah, for sure. I definitely had that like, yo, this motherfucker right here, like, stop talking to me right now. Like,
we could both say we tired and split the check right now. But Daniel Phillips said, nah, I want him to stop talking to me right now. Like, this was about money. It was about money for them. The money was the motive for them. So to say that they were going to just have consensual sex is crazy work. Like, we can't just keep saying that. And this is why I'm playing this, because you're hearing it out of their own mouths. Here's two of them engaging in a conversation about an act that they had where it involved Diddy and Cassie. Again, I'm not saying that Cassie, wasn't a co-conspirator. I've said that. But listen to what they're telling you. They were there because they caught feelings. They were there because of the money. The money was the motive. They knew they were going to G off every time they went to a freak off. I mean, I would dare to say that could be possibly looked at as a form of coercion because the money was the motive. They weren't just going because they just wanted to be there. They were going there because it was their job. Oh, look, the numbers dropped. People didn't like what I said. Oh,
bro, I had that, right? But also I was there already for like 8 hours before you came.
Yeah.
Like I was there for like half a day already, bro. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, dude, like that, and they never said to me about a competition or none of that, bro. So it's hilarious to me when I hear you like saying that, because I'm like, they said that to you, but the thing is, obviously, they wanted that aggression. They wanted to see us like battling each other and shit like that. And
I think what Daniel Phillips' analogy of this scenario, I think his scenario of it is actually on point with wanting to see a battle for her. If Diddy is directing this, right, then let's talk about it for a second. The fantasy talk that they talked about. He probably was like, I want to see two guys ravish you. Two guys ravish you is crazy work. Whoo, this is a, now do y'all see why I said some type of sex addiction therapy? Because Diddy was creating his own porno scenarios in the hotel room. That's what he was creating. Like, think about it, because this is what it's. Forget it. We there already. I've already driven us down that road. I can't stop in the middle. This sounds to me like one of those porno scenes where the two men are in there doing it with the woman. And I can't help but to think the way, hey, birthday girl, happy birthday. Okay, sorry. I had to do that because she just got up. Anyway, he was creating a porno scene with two men on one woman. Henny glasses in the chat if y'all agree with that. Because that's what it's giving. Like, he probably was sitting there watching some porn ahead of all of this and seeing this scene with these two guys. Probably, what's that Slayer guy's name? It was probably him and another guy, and they were on a woman. He was like, oh, that scene was bad. We need to recreate this scene. I'm sorry, but shut up.
I wasn't with that shit, man. Like, this shit was weird anyway, bro. Some weirdo shit, bro. And I just was like, you know what, man? Like, yeah.
You gotta put your professional hat on, bro. That's
Yeah.
what I did. I looked the other way. It went in.
Yeah, that was the first time that I have to say that I was like, you know what? At the end of this, most likely I'm getting a bag. So let me just stick with this. But this is some bullshit. And I definitely started second guessing whether or not I was going to entertain that shit again. But then I had a conversation with her again after that encounter, and she was telling me, yeah, no, we're not gonna be with the other guy anymore. I'm only gonna deal with you. And like, it's the same shit dude, this was literally methodical, bro. It was structured to a T.
This chick should be in jail. She's a pathological, manipulative liar. And considering I'm the person who came out with the lawsuit against her, I don't really care what the public thinks. She lied through her teeth. She manipulated him. She manipulated me. She manipulated the Punisher. She manipulated every guy she dealt with to make us think that we were the only one. How is she not on trial with Diddy? I'm confused.
But you bugging, bro. Like not bugging, but I mean, like, let me see. She didn't try to manipulate us to think, or only manipulate. She flat out said it to me. I'm gonna speak for myself because I constantly was asking her, yo, I'm your only person that you doing this with? And she's like, absolutely, we don't really do this like that. This is not really our thing. You're the only guy that we're doing this with. And then I would give her my STD results all the time because they was constantly trying to get me to have sex without a condom. And so I brought it up and I was like, yo, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna need your STD results. Bro, for months, she kept giving me the runaround, like, oh, I had it. I just was so busy. I lost the password, all this shit. I'm giving her my shit. She not giving me hers, but you don't have to worry about it. You're the only one that I'm with outside of my husband. But at this point, man, I already knew who he was.
Again, I've never said Cassie was not a co-conspirator. But when Clayton Howard lashes out, she lied to us. She manipulated us. She should be in jail. Why is she not on trial with Diddy? She's not on trial with Diddy because she filed her lawsuit. And he's like, I'm the one that has the lawsuit against Cassie. I'm the one that. You have a lawsuit against Cassie and Diddy. Do I have to pull that up? And you also have been trying to hide information, your medical record, that proves that you have an STD that you did not say you got from them. Remember I read that? But now my question becomes, did you tell her that you were doing this with other people? Because he mentioned, remember, we talked about this. Clayton Howard mentioned that he was servicing other people. And that Cassie was the last one before he retired. How do you retire from being an escort? It's crazy.
Off the rip, bro. The first encounter that I had with them, he made the mistake of speaking to me. And bro, like, yeah, this was my idol growing up, bro. Like, as a businessman, I wanted to be just like this dude. I wanted to have fashion.
Yes, he said he had a girl at home. Oh, look at this. People are upset right now. Do y'all see this? They are upset with me, honey. They are upset with me, and that's cool.
Companies and had properties all over the world, and like start working with people that needed resources, that had less than me. Yeah, it was crazy, man. I used to literally idolize this dude. I used to walk in Times Square past that billboard he had. You remember that billboard?
The Sean John?
Yeah, the Sean John joint with the mohawk every single day. Art. I used to be like, yo, you gonna know me by first and last name. So I used to talk to his billboard. You gonna know me by first and last name someday. We gonna do business together. Watch, bro. And what I learned from that is the universe could be funny as hell, man. You better be very specific with the shit that you talking about, because God damn it, this is not what I meant when I said that me and this man was gonna be doing business together someday, but it's sure what I got.
So Cassie told both of y'all
He said, I'm going to be doing business with you. And you ended up doing a hoochie coochie.
personally that y'all won the competition.
She told me, she flatly told me, like, listen, I got 2 guys. I like you. My husband doesn't want me to have 2 guys. So listen, you got to come for your spot. She flatly told me, basically, and I'm summarizing that, you got to for your position. I thought about it briefly. And I'm for the money, bro. I jumped up to go handle my business. When I got into the situation, it was the shock I wasn't expecting, to see her so open and so affectionate with someone the same way she was with me. And from the second I first saw him, I knew he had saw her before this. They were too comfortable together.
Let me ask y'all this, right? Gotta ask, what was y'all do in between time? Because y'all said that it lasted, 2 days. So can y'all leave a hotel? Do they bring y'all food? Like, can y'all take breaks? I mean, how does that work?
Well, if we was in a hotel, we would probably all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he and I met in Cassie's apartment on 10th Avenue in one of the Trump buildings. She used to have, Diddy had rented her an apartment on West End and the Trump buildings over there. So me and him met in Cassie's apartment. There was no room service. There was no water. The only breaks was them going into Cassie's bedroom while he and I sat in the living room and waited for them, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't long breaks. They might make us wait out there like 10, 15 minutes or something. And this is when me and him got cool. We started talking like, yo, bro, what's up? Blah, 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 blah. But basically, they leave us in the living room. They go in the bedroom, do whatever the hell they doing. Maybe he playing with some semen he saved over from somewhere else. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't get none out of either one of us that day. So maybe he had some in reserve from another person who'd been there before us. Who knows? Then
Diddy's never going to live that down. Listen, if y'all want to watch the full interview, y'all go ahead over there and watch that on Art of Dialogue. I'm not going to play the whole video for y'all because I don't want to impede on Art's views when it comes down to this. But listening to them and then reading what the defense has had to say, it sounds a little different. I will say that it does sound a little different. But again, the defense's job is to poke holes and to create narratives and to defend their client to the best of their abilities. Now, with them asking for bail, with them asking for a new trial or an acquittal, this is going to be interesting to watch. Now, again, I did say earlier in the video that the judge, they did put a Rule 29 motion in during the trial, and the judge reserved and never made a decision on it. So I'm not sure if that's going to play a part in him still having to answer as to whether or not he's going to give the motion for acquittal or not, or well, if he's going to acquit or not. because normally they would have 14 days, and it's been beyond 14 days since the jury gave their verdict. So we're watching that. They're asking for a new trial based off of the Mann Act only. So we'll see if they're going to get that. But right now, the bail that was asked for on the 29th, okay, during their bringing up, because what they have done, what the defense has done in each motion, because someone brought up, didn't the judge say that he did not want any arguments in the emails? Yes, he did say that. And that what they're doing is they're bringing their arguments into the cases that they're bringing. You know, they're saying they're using these cases as to why he should get bail, using these cases for why he should either be acquitted or why he should get a new trial. Okay. And new trial doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to get out either. New trial could mean, okay, we'll give him a new trial, but he's still going to sit there until the new trial. You know, I also question, is this going to aggravate the judge? Because, you know, one day you give this and then the next day you're giving something else. Sorry, y'all. That was peanut butter. I was talking to my daughter, so I had to mute it. Sorry. Now where were we? Because she kind of threw me off what I was saying. Um, so you weren't supposed to hear because I was talking to peanut butter. Okay, so you know, I don't know if this is gonna piss the judge off. No, where were we? Never mind. Let me just say what I said and get back to where I was going. My bad, y'all. When it's my kids, I'm always gonna stop what I'm doing. Sorry. So, you know, the government has not responded to anything that has been put into motion. So who's going to respond is what we're going to wait to see, because they have to rebut. And if they don't rebut, if they don't answer, the judge is going to have to make a decision. So with this being said, it's going to be, I want to see if the judge is going to give the prosecution until today is Thursday. They might give them until Monday to respond to the new trial or the Rule 29. Now, again, I did bring this up earlier as well. A lot of people are like, oh, they're taking advantage of the fact that Maureen Comey isn't there. But again, like I said, Smizer, Slavic, Johnson, they are all still there. Everyone who was there at the trial, who cross-examined and did all of that, who was privy to evidence and testimony and all of that, they're still there. So I don't know if one of them will respond to this or not. I don't know if someone else is going to respond on behalf of them, of the government, but we're waiting to see what's going to happen, because we didn't get anything from them. And they have until midnight. So the time is ticking right now. Time is ticking to see what's going to happen. It would be interesting to see. Now, I would be surprised if the judge comes back and says, I'm going to give the prosecution until, like I said, maybe Monday to respond to this. But yet we get no response for the bail. So again, it's like Diddy's team has backed Judge Submaranian into a wall and have basically said to him, listen, either he gets bail, he gets an acquittal, or he gets a new trial. These are the three things that we're going for. This is what we're going to go for, and we're not going to settle for anything less than that. The thing is, sentencing is in October. That's like a little less than 3 months. It's like 2 months and some change away from when he's going to be sentenced. So let's see what's going to happen. It's a lot of developments that have happened in a 24-hour span within this case. Now we've heard what the defense had to say as far as it being a consensual thing and this, and this. But when you listen to the escorts, especially when you're listening to Daniel Phillips and Clayton Howard talk, this information right here sheds a different narrative than how you bail on guilty charges. So the thing is, he can get bail on those charges if the judge deems that the government makes a good argument as to why he shouldn't get bail, then he won't. He hasn't been sentenced. That's the whole thing. It's not like they gave the verdict and sentencing happened immediately after. Sentencing isn't until October, so he still hasn't been sentenced. And I don't know how that works, and based off of what they're saying, the charges that he got are not severe charges. Like they're saying these are minor charges where he should get bail, where other people who have committed this offense have gotten bail, have ROR'd, have gotten time served and all of that. So how many people benefit off of his money? Well, we know definitely, bail until sentencing. We definitely know that his family does. We know that that's his kids. What is it, 7 kids? We know his mom, baby mama. Who knows how many people benefit from him making money. If you're talking about corporate wise, that's something different. So again, he can get bail until he gets sentenced. Once he gets sentenced, then that's it. Like you don't get no bail or none of that once you've been sentenced. Honestly, I don't think the judge would give him bail based off of, and this is just in my opinion, and that's going off of the history of what's been happening with the bail, going off of what he said at the end of the trial. I don't think that on the Rule 29 that he motioned, I don't think he's going to acquit him on the Rule 29 either. Hey, Selena, I don't think that he's going to get a new trial. I don't know. But then again, maybe he will. Who knows? We have to see what's going to happen. Okay. My only thing is, if they get a new trial based on the Mann Act, right, and they go for a new trial, will the government then throw in new charges? Will they then go into the vault of other things that they did not charge and bring that forward in this trial? Like, will that happen? I don't know. But I have also said to y'all, do not be fooled. Do not be tricked. Do not think that everything is just easy breezy cover girl. Because at the end of the day, remember, this is the same thing that happened with R. Kelly. R. Kelly was acquitted or, beat his case and found not guilty and went out. And guess what? Years later, they spun the block on R. Kelly. And where is he now? In click, click, damn it, city. So we have no idea. And again, I'm going to bring this up as well. Remember, what makes me say that they have stuff that they did not use in this trial is the fact that the Homeland Security guard, allegedly the Homeland Security officer who spoke to CNN, which CNN is a credible source, they told CNN that he had sex rooms in there, that there was tapes in there of A-list celebrities. That's what the Homeland Security guy said. Damian Williams, which I really don't even understand. He started this case and then it was passed over to Maureen Comey. Damian Williams laid out other stuff that was going on that was not charged in this case as well. So there's still stuff that they have in the kitty, so to speak, that they may be able to spin the block on. So I don't know how any of this is going to work out. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I just read and try to understand things. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is where we are with it. Yeah, Damian was not playing. Okay. If Damian would have been the lead USA on this case, I don't think that we would have gotten what we got now. I think that it would have been different because when Damian came out and spoke about this case, Damian was throwing everything at him, including the kitchen sink. Okay. And all the toiletries from out the bathroom. So I don't know, but let's see if the government responds, you guys. And if they do, then, hey, also, I wanted to speak on this before I go. So Deadline, I don't know how credible. I do agree. It could be a cover up too. I want to speak on this really quickly. Let me pull this up for you guys. Let me get my screen the way I like my screen. All right. So I made a posting. Okay. And this is according to Deadline. So let me read this to y'all. This is on my Instagram official, That Girl Henny. Not That Girl Henny reviews. Okay. Official That Girl Henny. It says, according to Deadline, Donald Trump is heavily considering giving Sean Diddy Combs a full presidential pardon ahead of his October 3rd sentencing. This comes after Trump publicly entertained the notion of a Diddy pardon a few weeks ago, which is a comprehensive get out of jail card for Combs, an administrative source told Dateline. Now it says an administrative source, okay? But it never says where that, who that was, because it's a source. According to Deadline, another source says several associates there have been several close associates. Okay, according to another source, several associates there have been, I forgot what I was trying to say there. Anyway, several sources, they've been saying that several close sources associated with Diddy have been petitioning them on his behalf, okay? And that Deadline also says another insider has confirmed the topic has been leveled up from just another Trump weave into the actionable event. There hasn't been any official statements or word from the White House officials, and Deadline claims they reached out to Diddy's defense team led by Marc Agnifilo and Teeny Garagos, who had no comment on any pardon talk for their client. So we don't know if this is actual factual or not. Again, it did come from Deadline. I don't know how credible they really are. That's why I kept saying according to, because this is according to them. They're saying that Trump may be seriously entertaining a pardon for him. Now, this comes after hearing about all the stuff that's going on with Epstein. Now, why would you bring Epstein into this situation? Because let's compare the two. Epstein had videos of elite top officials and all of that from around the world. He had royals at his party and politicians and A-list people at his parties. Diddy had the same thing at his. Epstein had, damn it, what is the prince's name that'll never be king? He had him. I can't even remember his name, but I could see his damn face. Andrew, right? Had him at his party. And guess what? Diddy had the younger princes at his party. William and all of them. They was at his party. Diana's sons. They was over there at Diddy parties. So they both have a lot of things that run side by side. Diddy had a relationship. Prince Andrew, thank you. Diddy had a relationship with Trump. And it spanned over the years. If you go into Google and you Google Diddy and Trump, you'll see over the years, there have been multiple pictures of Diddy with Trump. And how you know that they're over the years is because 1 minute Trump has a full head of that, I don't know what you want to call it, colored hair. And he wasn't so orange to him being orange. You feel me? You can see him in his different age stages of him aging. Yes. So they've had a relationship as well in the past. Trump had a relationship with Epstein. So if a pardon comes in, conspiracy theories are going to spin like a whirlwind, and we're going to talk about it. So that's also something that's looming in the air in the background. Plus, remember, I told you Trump appointed somebody to the Southern District of New York. That is one of his people, one of his minions that's there. So we don't know. Maybe the government is not responding because this person is in place of Comey and he's holding off and saying, let this play out. Let's see what the judge does. If the judge gives him bail, good. If the judge acquits him, good. If the judge gives him a new trial, okay, fine. We'll step in and we'll pardon him. Let's see what happens. We don't know. but you cannot actually take off the table the fact that there could be something that's going on to distract as well from the Epstein files with this whole case, because Donald wanted to sue Beyonce for $11 million. Like, he wanted her brought up on charges saying that she got $11 million to endorse Kamala Harris for the Democratic Party. When in fact, it turns out that the person who handled the budgeting said that it was $165,000 that was used for entertainment, not $11 million. He's also going after Oprah. He's also going after Al Sharpton. Like, he's going after people that are prominent in our community, or people that are going to get us buzzing and talking. So it definitely could, Also, Trump pardoned Jack Johnson, and Diddy was found guilty of those same charges. Trump has pardoned a lot of people, okay? Epstein had Andrew, Diddy had Harry. Thank you. I couldn't think of their names. Thank you. Thank you, Nino. I could see their faces, but their names was like drawing a blank. And I'm like, what the hell? See, I be having brain fart moments. But anyway, you guys, that's it for today's video, or at least this morning's video. I'm going to try to come back later because I have some other information on another case that is going to shock the hip hop world if it ends up going down the way that they think it's going to go down. But yeah, so y'all make sure that your notifications are on. Anytime that you see that I have posted a video and it is scheduled, make sure you hit the notify. I am working on getting myself together for these morning lives with y'all and the evening lives. Just bear with me, guys, because I'm doing a lot and I'm trying to get it all in motion. But in the meantime and in between time, remember to vibe high so that the bullshit doesn't stick. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Love is always love, and I'll see y'all in the next video, everybody. Thank you for the support and love. I appreciate you. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to everybody who contributed in the chat. Thank you, everybody. I love y'all. I'm going to celebrate my baby's birthday. She's 17. Peace.